Hi, I'm Jeremy, and today I'm going to take a look at a new card game by the name of Herbaceous. This game was designed by Steve Finn, Eduardo Baraf, and Beth Sobel. It says, in about 20 minutes. You could probably play, if you're playing with two players, certainly in about 10 minutes. It's a very quick playing game. Box says ages 8 and up. That seems completely correct, and it plays from 1 to 4 players. It's a set collection game where players are going to be scoring various herb cards over the course of the game. It's a very quick filler game. I'm going to take a moment to show you how it plays. I'm going to just show you the solo game because it plays so quickly, and then I'll come back and let you know what I think about the game. So to demonstrate the game of Herbaceous, I'm actually going to play out a solo game because it only takes a few minutes to do so. Although I'll explain the way that the multiplayer game differs. So essentially, you're going to do a setup that looks like this, and I'll explain essentially what the different sections of the board are here. So here we have your 4 pots. These are essentially going to be what you are going to be able to score. So over the course of the game, you're going to be able to score each of these pots one time, and they're going to each score differently. The game will end when you've scored all 4 of those pots, or when you run out of the deck, and then you just have a chance to score one more pot. And they score based on what's shown on the bottom of these cards. And the game does come with this player aid, which does help you to see that. So for example, this one here, you want to collect a unique set of herbs. So there are 7 types of herbs in the game. Those are evenly distributed. And however many of those you choose to put in there when you score will give you points. So if I put 5 different types of herbs in here when I chose to score, I would get 8 points. And when you score, what you're going to do is you're going to draw cards from this area down here, which is in front of you. This is called your private garden. And also any cards from up here, the community garden. And add those face down under here. So for example, let's just say I put these 2 cards here. This would be a unique set of 2. I would keep it here. That would be worth 3 points. And you're supposed to line these up like that so people could see how many points you've scored. You could never add cards once you've chosen to score one of your pots. So there's a little bit of gamesmanship in choosing when you want to, score them, hoping that, more cards might come out to increase your score. So like I said, that one wants you to score unique herbs. This one wants you to score all of the same herbs. So for example, a set of 4 identical herbs would be worth 14 points. This one here, it'll want you to score different pairs. So up to 6 different pairs, could be up to 18 points. And this one here, any 3 cards would score you 6 points. But this is the only one where you could put these special herbs. You can see here some of these herbs have points on them. This chive, if you had it in here, it would be worth an additional 2 points. Also, if you manage to get a 1, 2, and a 3 and put them in here, then you would be able to claim this biscuit bonus, which is worth 5 points. So that is pretty much how the game is going to work. You're going to be, on your turn, simply drawing cards from this deck, and then choosing to add them either to this area here, so the communal area, or your personal area. And then you have the option, before you do that, to simply score the herb. So let me just show you that in action. And I should note that in a solo game, you also draw a 3rd card, which you'll have to discard here. So you could choose which order you discard to the discard pile, to the communal garden, or your personal garden. So for example, here I draw a lavender. I might want to try working on sets of lavender. So let's say I add that to my hand. I draw a 2nd card. It's another lavender. We probably want to keep that in play. And then that means the 3rd card that I draw has to go here. So if you've played the game Biblios, it kind of reminds me of that, where you're essentially allocating cards to different places as you draw them one at a time. Next turn, I'm again not choosing the pot at the start of my turn. This time I probably want to collect that, although I did just discard a mint. 2nd card I have is a tarragon. I could start working on a set of tarragon. Let's just say I toss that out. And then the 3rd card I draw is a saffron. So now I should note that in a solo game, not in a multiplayer game, whenever this area here hits 5, you automatically discard it. So on my next turn, the turn sequence is simply to pot herbs, which is essentially score, and then plant. So if I don't pot herbs, which is essentially forces scoring, I'm going to be forced to discard those 5. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unique types available to me, which would be pretty good for that. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll simply take all these 4 here. So I have these 4 different types here. I'll add the sage from my hand. So I'll create a set of 5, and I'll choose to score this area here. And I would just tuck it under here to indicate that I have 5, which is worth 8 points at the end of the game. So that would be one of my 4 scorings for the game. So now that I've done that, I just go on to my normal planting action, which is simply flipping up cards. So 1, I have a time. I already have a time here. So I could press my luck and assume I'm going to get a mint, but maybe I'll just choose to take the time into my hand. 2, it's a mint, which I definitely want. And then 3, I have to forcibly discard that dill. Now I could choose to score this, and there's no reason not to, because you can only put 3 into this. So what I'll do is I'll essentially score these as my potting action. So I have a 1, 2, and 3, and those will get placed under here. They'll be worth 6 points plus the 1, 2, and 3 points, so up 12 points. Plus, since I put a 1, 2, 3 under there, as you can see here, I'll get this for an additional 5 points. So that was actually a pretty lucky thing, especially because in the solo game you take out half of the cards at random, so there's a chance that you're not going to have your 1, 2, and 3 in your deck. Alright, so moving on, I have to do my plant action. So 1, I draw a sage. I guess I could keep it here. I have no incentive not to. 2, rosemary, let's just say I discard that. 3, dill, I have to keep here. I don't want to plant yet. I'm still trying to build up either a set of like cards, which I'm working on lavender, hopefully that works out, or a set of pears. Lavender could also be a pear. So dill, again, I could keep that, so now I have 2 pear. So I'm working well on those pairs. 2, tarragon. I don't have tarragon up here, so I'll discard that, hopefully getting something that matches up here. And I did, actually. So now I have another pair here, so I'm in a position to score 3 pair. So I'll draw lavender. I could keep that. I probably will keep it here, see what happens. 2, bay. I don't especially need bay, but yeah, we'll toss that out. And then I have to draw the 3rd one into my hand. It was bay again anyway. 3, so 1, I draw that. I could keep that here. 2, tarragon. Let's just discard that, and then the 3rd card has to come here. Oh, it was also tarragon. So now, again, I kind of have to score, or else these will get discarded out, and they're useful to me. So I'll choose to score pairs. I could take this pair of sage. If I had kept that tarragon, I could also combine it with that one, but unfortunately I didn't. So I have a set of bay here, a set of lavender, and a set of dill. So that's 4 pairs, all different, and those will get placed under here. And you can see here that under here, and you can see that 8 cards, which is 4 different pair, are going to be worth 14 points. So those will be my 3rd scoring. I only have 1 more scoring to do, which is essentially a set collection, all unique types. So now I just take my plant action, so draw 1, chive. That's going to be useless to me because you cannot plant these special cards anywhere but this area where I've already scored, so that's a definite discard. 2, a rosemary. I might as well keep it here. It doesn't do me any good there. Okay, that's it. So my next turn, mint. Again, it's a special herb, so I will discard that out. 2, sage. Not doing a really good job of creating a set of identical cards. So let's toss this up here. Maybe I'll end up flushing this area. And 3, another sage. Go figure. It has to come down here. Alright, I have only 3 cards left. So it's a question of whether... Well, I can't make more than a set of 2, which is not going to be a lot of points. So I guess I will not score. Hopefully these cards here will somehow, help me to score. So 1, rosemary. Let's just toss it here. Oh, actually, these 3 cards will take this turn. I guess I should probably score now, thinking about this. But whatever. I did what I did. 1, rosemary. I guess I'll keep it here. 2, sage. Go figure. And 3, I have to discard that because there are 5 here. These go away. And now the game will end, but I get 1 more chance to plant. I have a pair of rosemary, which is going to be worth 6 points. Alright, so now these cards are not going to be worth anything. They just get tossed out, and I simply add up the points that I have in front of me. So I did get this, so that's 5 points for the bonus. The different set. It looks like I have 4, or I have 5 rather. So that's going to be worth 8 points. That brings me to 13. Here I have only 2, so that's 6 points. That's going to be 19. Here I have a set of 3 for 6 points. So that's 25, plus I score these, so another 6, so 31. And then here I have, how many pairs? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs. So 8 cards, so 14, so 31 plus 14 is 45. And because this is a solo game, I could just look, and it seems that I am a clever cultivator. So that is pretty much how the game is going to play. In a multiplayer game, it works very similarly. Like I said, when you're doing your plant action, which is when you're drawing cards, you're only going to be drawing 2 cards. One will go into this communal market, one will go in front of you. You do not draw a card to discard. Essentially, that means that this will be building up, and players will be trying to wait until as many cards as possible are out here before they choose to pull from that to score. But since the game plays up to 4, it could be a long time till that gets back around to you. The cards that you wanted may not be there. But otherwise, the game plays much the same, and that is how you're going to play Herbaceous. Alright, so that is Herbaceous, and I think that this is a really cute little filler game. I would not make any great claims for it. I think that it does remind me of another game that Steve Finn designed by the name of Biblios, where you're going to be allocating cards as you're drawing them, and I think that that's an interesting decision, although it's almost a more interesting decision in a solo game where you have 3 cards to allocate than it is in a multiplayer game where you only are going to be essentially allocating 1 card and then getting stuck with it, whatever you draw second. But it's enough of a decision that you are going to be able to fill that 10 minutes that the game takes to play, or 20 minutes that the game takes to play, without feeling bored. Also, I think that in a multiplayer game, there is some real tension in the decision about when to go for those cards to score. You're going to be able to see what other players are scoring over the course of the game, so you'll have a pretty good idea of what you need to score with each of your 4 scorings in order to stay ahead of the pack. So because of that, you're going to want to let those cards build up in that central communal garden or in your hand before you choose to score. However, if you do not grab them, one of your opponents is going to grab them if an ideal set forms over the course of the game. So balancing those competing interests is where essentially the game interest lies. It's definitely a light game. It's definitely lighter than like something like Biblios, which only takes a few more minutes to play, to be honest. And that's okay, though. I think that for what this is, it's really pleasant, it's really fast, it has really good artwork, and it's really fun to, just, see players swoop up those cards out from under you. And for a light filler game, it's something I would recommend. That solitaire game, I'm not sure that I would sit around and play that, but I think that does work relatively well. The one thing that I am unsure about is the fact that there is in a 2, 3, or even a 1-player game the chance that certain types of cards are going to be removed from the game, so you may not be able to score the 5-point bonus card in every game, which is, I guess, maybe could be considered a feature. It is more of a press your luck element if you're playing with fewer than 4 players, where you're going to be removing some cards at random. With 4 players, you'll play with all of the cards, so there's definitely going to be a chance for somebody to score that. But that's a pretty minor consideration, because this is not a game that you're going to be agonizing about the next day, I should have done a different move. No, this is a really light, really pleasant little game. So those are my thoughts on Herbaceous, and thanks for watching.